Welcome in, everybody, to the Flagship podcast interview. So excited to bring on my man, Super DJ, the all-time leading tackler of the Kansas City Chiefs, Bronco Nagurski Award winner, Butkus Award winner at the University of Texas, the one and only Derrick Johnson.
Hey, appreciate it, Chip. Thanks, man. Thanks for the introduction.
I mean, I'm sitting here looking at your records at the University of Texas. And of course, you still have the season record for forced fumbles. Do you remember how many you had in that season in 2004?
I had 9 or 10, maybe 10.
9?
9. Got it. Yep.
Okay, so here's the deal. For your career, you had 11 forced fumbles. So what was going on? What triggered that crazy? I mean, I still remember the punch that you used to force probably most of those fumbles, but where did that come from, DJ? Because that was crazy. 9.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been blessed and fortunate enough to have a great freshman year and sophomore and junior year, and I got to my senior year like, man, there's something else I can do. There's something more I can do. I can be more of an impact to the team and help the team win. And I tell you what, whenever you want to do something great, you got to be intentional about it. So when I was in practice, I'm like, you know what? I'm getting to the ball all the time. They can't stop me. I'm sideline to sideline. And I'm like, let me do something extra. Let me rip it out. And I did it a couple times in practice. I'm like, this works. So I kept doing it. And every day that was a thing. Like, all right, just try it, get it out. You know, of course you need to secure the tackle first, then knock it out. But I did it in the first, I think, North Texas. Somebody we played the first game, and I'll tell you what, man. It after that, I'm like, when you get some confidence behind what you're doing, you succeed.
Yeah, I mean, 9 forced fumbles, and you, the punch. Like, did you have a nickname for that move?
You know what? I do not have a nickname. I should have patented that. You know, now that we probably talk about this later, but the NIL deals and stuff. Now I could have made some money off that.
Oh yeah, I mean that was trademark. But you had the speed. You had the speed, to be able to come up behind someone, put your left arm around them to kind of get the tackle started, and then punch. I mean, not many guys had your speed, DJ.
Yeah, well, that's the key, right? I mean, we talk about the punch and getting 9 in one season, but at the end of the day, you actually have to get there with a lot of speed. You have to get yourself in a position for that, which is hard to do, to secure the tackle and knock out the ball. And I was very fortunate to do that.
All right, so your top 3 all time at Texas in tackles. Do you remember how many tackles you had?
Tackles, for probably 3, probably 4 something, 450.
Yeah. 458.
Yeah, I still remember.
458. Number 3 behind Britt Hager.
Yep.
Crazy
Yep.
Britt Hager.
And my best stat that I like at Texas is my tackles, my TFLs. That's kind of being a inside backer. You don't get a bunch of opportunities for behind the line tackles for loss. Usually those are the outside linebackers or guys that's on the line because they're right there. But I really take a lot of pride in, I think I got like 60, 65 or something tackles for loss in my 4 years. And I'll brag on that. I pat myself on the back for that one.
I was just about to ask you about that because you have the career record for tackles for loss. And that does. I mean, that showed you had interceptions. I mean, it was crazy how versatile you were at, making plays behind the line, dropping into coverage, making plays. So it's no surprise that you went on to become the all-time leading tackler of the Chiefs. And I'll talk to you about that a little bit. Because you and Jamaal Charles have this crazy thing going. But I do want to ask you about, well, you know what? I'll ask you about the the Jamaal Charles stuff right now since we're on that
Mhm.
mode. So you go to the Chiefs and you play there, you know, have this incredible career. And then Jamaal Charles comes. He becomes the all-time leading rusher for the Chiefs. You're the all-time leading tackler for the Chiefs, but you all did not overlap at Texas. You graduated in '04. He arrived in '05. So how well did you all know each other, before he got to Kansas City?
You know what? Not much, not much. Just because we missed each other.
Yeah.
Obviously, I knew exactly who he was. I was a fan of his running style and just how he keeps his shoulders square and his hips are moving and it's kind of like, man, who is this track guy? Because usually, you know, um, track guys usually don't always pan out or go far when it comes to football, just because it's just a little different. But he panned out. I tell you what, man. You talk about a heck of a player. When we got him, I'm like, man, we got us a Longhorn, and he's gonna be here for a while. And you can whenever you talk to Jamaal JC, you can always ask him when we're in training camp. I'm the first person in line when it comes to going against the running backs, and I don't go against anybody but the best. And when Jamal's out there, we're gonna go at it. Either it's a pass rush, which he hates that part, but I got to give him some of
Oh,
give him the
yeah.
moves and be violent with him. But then he gets his chance to shine when it comes to route running, and we've won our fair share. So it's one of those things where I tell people all the time, man, if you want to get better, you got to go against the best. And Jamaal was clearly the best.
Well, it's crazy to me that he sets the Chiefs single game rushing record, 259 yards rushing. The same game that some people say was your best game
Mhm.
as a Chief, where you return 2 interceptions for over 100 yards of interception return yardage for touchdowns, 6 tackles, pass breakups. Um, you all beat the Broncos in 2010, 44-24. What do you remember about that game, DJ?
You know what? That season actually, I remember that I got benched that year. That was the year Todd Haley benched me. That was the first time I'm like, I still look up in there like, really? But it happened. I got through. I fought through adversity, which helped me to get better, actually. But that was my last game of that season that I didn't start. I played a lot that game because I was a nickel backer at that time. And I tell you what, man, I just cleared my mind and said, hey, let's go and just be an impact player. And always kept my confidence throughout the whole year. And that game kind of set me up, segued me to doing great things, and to see two Longhorns out there killing it. I mean, I remember Jamaal. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't pull a hamstring because he was running. I mean, they couldn't stop him. He was just running up and down the field, and and myself too. I made a bunch of plays that game, and it kind of led to a bunch of things after that when it comes to Pro Bowls and All Pro season. So that is pretty special. That game was.
Okay, so Todd Haley, who everywhere he goes, people have like something to say about Todd Haley.
Yeah.
But what on earth was his explanation to you for sitting you?
Well, yeah. That was the frustrating thing about the media. They kept asking like, "Hey, like, what?" We wasn't that good that year, so they were like, "Why?" That was his first year too, because he was shaking up a lot of things, and they kept asking like DJ's on the sideline, like he's one of your better players. Like, why are you not playing him? And he just like this is what we decided. He kind of was really hard and kind of stuck on like, hey, this is how it is, and never had a chance to mature for me to actually beat out the guy during that whole season. So what happened was after everybody's asking, man, what's up with DJ? Well, why you not playing him more? And we went to 2011 training camp, and he said, all right, this is open competition. Whoever wins it, it is what it is. I tell you what, man, I literally won every single day. And it actually helped me, not that what he did was right, but when you find yourself in adversity, you find yourself behind the eight ball, it kind of tests and see what you're really made of. And I was made of something special, and it showed. And after that, man, they actually paid me 8 games into 2011 season. He actually paid me a big contract. So I mean that tells you that that he was high on me. He just for some reason he just wanted to shake some things up, and I'm still scratching my head like, dude, come on, I can help, but it turned out right.
That was your first Pro Bowl season, right?
Exactly.
2011,
Yep.
and then you went to 4.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
mean, so and what do you think it was? Was it that? Was it you found another gear? I mean, Derrick Johnson found another gear 7
Absolutely.
7 years into your pro career.
Exactly. Which is pretty special. I always tell people it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I was a big, not that I was underachieving. I was a bust before Todd Haiti got there my 5th year, but I was one of those players. I would say more of a yo-yo, meaning like, man, you'll have some great games where you say, man, that's a Pro Bowl type of player, and then some games you'll say, man, he didn't do much. He was just out there. He didn't make any kind of impact. And I struggled through some injuries when Todd Haiti first got there. So that kind of sparked the, all right, let's try somebody else. And he kind of went with that whole thing. And that wasn't right at that time, but honestly, it was a blessing for me because it kind of showed me like, okay, if this is your adversity, this is your time to really hone in and show your worth. And I showed my worth, and it helped me to be more consistent. It helped me to be a easily motivated player. So because after that, when I got the money and all that stuff, got my contracts and stuff, I was always had that chip on my shoulder, like, hey, this will never happen again. I don't I'm always be a consistent player, and so it actually turned out really good for me.
That's a fascinating story. Um, all right, we're gonna take a quick break here on the Flagship Podcast interview with Derrick Johnson. We got a lot to get to. We'll get his thoughts on the Longhorns, maybe what he sees in the linebacking crew, because guys watch their position when they watch. So we'll be right back with Derrick Johnson. And if you're watching us on the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel, we'll roll on. And DJ, before we leave the Jamaal Charles subject, um, what can you tell us about? He's got some kinfolk at La Tech, my man Kenneth Lofton Jr., power forward at La Tech. He's in the transfer portal, and you know, any indications he might end up at Texas?
Man, I'll tell you what, I would love that. I've actually met him like twice. And I tell you, he's a huge human being. I mean, he really big guy. And first time I met him when he was with Jamaal, I'm like, oh, this must be a big, football recruit. He's going, he's one of Jamal's family members. He's going to Texas or whatever. He plays football, offensive line, maybe, or a defensive tackle. I mean, he's huge.
Yeah, he's like 278. He's like
Yeah.
7',
Yeah.
278.
Oh my goodness, he's probably 300 pounds. I mean, but he looks good though. He looks good. He's fit, and you talk about an athletic big man. I mean, and and when I saw him a couple of times, first thing he started laughing because I'm like, man, you should play football, man. He should, but because he would have made a lot of money, but. Nobody's hitting on him or anything, so his head to be straight in basketball. But I'll tell you what, man, you talk about an athlete, man. It's crazy to see Jamaal around him. Jamaal looks so little, and I'm like, this is pretty. It'll be pretty cool if he can end up at Texas. So
Yeah, that's a name for folks to keep an eye on. Is Chris Beard? He works his magic in the portal. We know that.
yes.
Okay, so do you and Jamaal now sit around and like on your porch and just reminisce about all these incredible moments you all had together in Kansas City?
Believe it or not, we do. We do.
Hope so.
You know what? for him being here with his family and me here with my family in Austin, being a Longhorn, we bleed burnt orange, and to have such incredible time in Kansas City. I played 9 years with him, maybe. But I was in Kansas City for 13 years, and Jamaal was a freak of nature. And I always give him his flowers. He's always giving me my flowers because we we butt heads all the time, being on the opposite side of the ball. Even in the Pro Bowl, he still asks me to this day, man, why did you hit me like that in the Pro Bowl? And I think it was maybe 2015, one of those Pro Bowls, but I hit him really hard because I'm like, Jamaal, you're like, I'm not gonna let you make me look bad, dude. I'm gonna come at you because I know what you can do. I know what you can do. But we live in the same neighborhood too. So me, Jamaal, and Brian Rakpo, Kenny Vaccaro, we're all in the same area. So it's pretty cool.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, before we get to the Longhorns and your take on what you've seen, last year under Steve Sarkisian and the linebacker position, tell us a little bit about the Derrick Johnson Defend the Dream Foundation, because you started this in Kansas City in 2012, and now you're branching out to Austin.
Yeah.
And tell us about what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very passionate about my foundation, Defend the Dream Foundation, which caters to inner city kids through education. We're talking childhood literacy. It's something that inner city kids need, and the outreach program or the what we do is actually we go inside Title I schools in the inner city, elementary schools, and we do a makeover of their library. Now you'll be surprised at some of the inner city schools, because the library is the heart of the school usually. And when you go in there, you say, man, it's very dull, or there's not enough books, or water damage on the books. I mean, you're talking 20, 30-year-old books. And my theory, and I've done a lot of research, for kids to be successful, especially in the inner city, education has to be the top priority. It has to be. That's their way out. That's the way out. And I'm a big advocate of that. But I'm putting emphasis and trying to make an impact in childhood literacy. So just making sure that the kids know how important reading is, and being on that grade level on reading. Because that's the deal. If you're on grade level on your reading, you have a better chance of finishing high school in an inner city kid. The inner city kids that are not on grade level reading after they leave elementary, it's a 50%, 50% chance that they won't finish high school. That's way too big. And I just want to give them the proper resources they need to reach their full potential at the end of the day.
Now, I know your mom was an educator. I still tell that story about how the first time she took you to football and you didn't want to get out of the car. But your mom was an educator. Is that where this comes from, DJ?
Absolutely. My foundation is an extension of me being a kid that's in the inner city. Didn't have much growing up, but my mom, single parent home, was a school teacher. So if you imagine living with a school teacher, and she didn't only be disciplined at school or be that teacher mode. She kept that on throughout our whole life. So I got all that, and I appreciate it now. At the time, I'm like, oh my goodness, she's, it's because she was on me so hard at times, but it all paid off because instilling that, you got to stay humble throughout everything that you do, the highs and lows. Make sure that you have a spiritual base. Make sure we go to church all the time throughout my years, and education was big on that list, because she knew that if I'm going to do anything great, regardless of if I was a good football player or not, education had to be a big part of that.
That's awesome. And people can get more information at DerrickJohnsonFoundation.org.
Yes.
That's where you can go to help Derrick and help these kids make sure that their library comes to life.
And by the way, Kansas City, I started in 2012. We have now these are $50,000 projects, $40,000, $50,000 project that we go into these inner city schools and do a makeover of their library. I got 16. I've done 16,
Wow.
one in Waco, 15 in Kansas City. And now I retired for the last couple of years. I'm just now launching it and bringing it to Austin. So it'll be based here in Austin for years to come. And man, I would love, especially if you got a passion for helping inner city kids. I need a bunch of help. So it takes a village for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, DJ. And I know you've got a project already on the books for
Yes,
Austin.
mid May. We're going to before school gets out. We're going to Oak Springs Elementary School, and that's on the east side of Austin. That'd be our first project. So very very excited about that, and they need it, and they're going to benefit from it big time.
Yeah, get to DerrickJohnsonFoundation.org and throw them a couple bucks if you can help get this
Please.
initiative going. And, speaking of a couple bucks, you mentioned NIL. NIL now in this world, I mean, can you believe this? Like, what kind of NIL would Derrick Johnson have commanded in that
Man,
2004 season, knocking all those fumbles loose? Super
man.
DJ.
Oh man, it's one of those things where you say, "Wow, I wish I had that opportunity."
Here's my question, DJ, about the NIL money. Can it be too much too soon? Like, can it like you talked about how you had to, find that extra gear in the NFL and you're already making good money. Can it be too much too soon at the college level? I mean, how do you look at it? I mean, it's
You
the
know
pros
what?
outweigh the cons.
This is new, right? This is new, so you never want to be too pessimistic
Yeah.
or even overly optimistic, because there's pros and cons to everything. But the guys that can handle it, the men and women that can handle it, the young adults that can handle it, will benefit from the NIL deals for sure, big time. Now, it's going to test your character. It's going to test, are you in it for the right reasons? Which that's the advantage we had coming up. It was all about winning. It was all about football, and we didn't get any money. It's like, hey, that was the motivation. When I leave here, I'll get a lot. But the good thing about it, everybody's broke. We was all in it together.
Yeah.
Everybody used to eat jumbo jacks at Jack in the Box. That we fed off of that throughout the years. But I tell you what, this is a great opportunity for kids to make some money, and invest and do some great things with that money and be smart with it. I'm sure that it's not going to help everybody. It's going to be some cases where you say, man, this money was very distracting to this kid, which sucks, right? Which is not there. That's not what we have the NIL deals for. We have the NIL deals to help give the athlete money because the school makes a lot of money, and at the same time you can build your brand and into what you want for your future success. So I'm praying and hoping that this NIL deal doesn't get too crazy. When you talk about money, it's hard to. I just hope so. So I don't know. I really don't know. It's up in the air.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the current Longhorns. I mean, you now as a linebacker, DJ, do you watch games? Do you watch the linebackers? Do you find yourself, or can you just
Absolutely.
watch the whole thing?
No, absolutely. You got to watch the linebackers. Definitely. It's or I watch the defense. I actually watch the offense. This is how my mind works when I go to a lot of the games, and when I'm sitting up there, I kind of like watching it at home because sometimes it's not a lot of, it's not a lot of partying and back and forth and people talking. So I kind of like to square in because I'm a football head. I'm all into football, but when I see a offense come out, I'm not looking at at our defense. I'm looking at the offense now. I'm like, okay, this is 1st and 10. This is what I think they're going to run. This is formation. You see the linemen leaning, or if they're backed up, if the running back is in front of the quarterback or behind the quarterback. If this cut splits from the receivers. I mean, all this is boom, boom, boom. It's going through my head, and then I look at the linebackers for sure to see how they respond and how can they impact that play, or if they the pros and cons of what they can do better. So that I can't. I want to watch it regular, just general, but I can't. It's got to be like, oh, because this is what I did. That's what I do. So
Yeah, I mean, I think Dan Neal always tells me, "I watch the linemen. I don't even know what else is going on in the play." But so, okay, so you got some linebackers back from last year, DeMarvion Overshawn,
mhm.
Jalen Ford, David Benda. What do you see when you look at the linebacker position?
Well,
It's
I see an eager bunch. They're, I guess, I would say their sense of urgency is there right now, because I just went to a practice. It was yesterday actually, and I saw them running around. Saw Ford running around, which is 41, correct?
Yep.
Yes. So I got to know him a little bit, and Overshawn I've been seeing for the last couple of years. You talk about a guy that can run sideline to sideline. Reminds me of myself, honestly. And he just hadn't played that position as long as me. But there's a place for athletic linebackers now, with all this, because all that stuff leaked into the NFL, that spread offense and all that, the RPOs and all that stuff. So that college atmosphere is in the NFL. So these safety type linebackers, hybrid type linebackers, you got to be athletic to play a long time in the league now. And Overshawn for sure has that ability. And it was cool to watch them. Coach Choke and all of them, just watch them do drills and just get behind them doing the inside drill. And I'm kind of, it was weird. I got goosebumps coming up on me because I'm like behind them. I'm like, oh, gotta do this. I had to catch myself because it's, because naturally I am a coach. I'm a student of the game. Naturally, I want to coach, but not right now. I can't. I have 6 kiddos, and I just, I gotta pour into my fam. But later on, I wouldn't be surprised if I were coaching later on. But I will be staying around the guys and staying around coaching, because I'm a football guy through and through.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so when you watched the defense last year, because they played great at times and then they were inconsistent,
Mm-hmm.
what what were your takeaways? Like,
Yeah, well, honestly, sometimes I don't look at the just how many yards, because I gave up a lot of yards at times, and sometimes that can be skewed depending on the yards. It's all about scoring defense. How do you stop them when they get closer, when the field starts shrinking, when they get closer to 30, 20, 20, 15-yard line. It should be better for the defense because they can't run past you. Now you get everybody up, and now you gotta play the run good. You gotta now. There's one thing about on defense to being in the red zone, you can't mess up. You can't get out of your gap. You can't have a mishap, because it'll be a touchdown just like that. We gave up too many touchdowns. I think we need to make sure that we make them kick field goals. I mean, if you can make them kick field goals, and what we have on the other side of the ball with our offense, we'll win a lot more games. But I tell you what, man, I was proud of the guys for just keep fighting. Last year was, historically not a good year, for us, and we got to do better. We know that. The good thing about being a Longhorn, that expectation is up here, and it's going to stay up here. It's not, and we're not going to give it it's a break. We have young guys. Nope. We got to get it up here, because we can get the best players in Texas. And if you're a Longhorn, these fans they will get right behind you. You just gotta go all in. You gotta jump all in.
all right, I know you got to go play some golf. You playing with a Rackpo today? Who are you playing with?
You know what? Yep, Rackpo and Michael Griffin and those guys, and they're not very good right now. They're trying to catch me right now, so I'm just now breaking 90. So I gotta keep swinging it. Keep swinging
I love it.
it.
I love it. Well, listen, man, go enjoy some golf with your buddies. And listen, we appreciate it so much. You taking some time for us here on the flagship.
I appreciate it, Chip.
All right, for Derrick Johnson, top 3 tackler, but don't ever forget the all-time leading tackler in tackles for loss at Texas, the one and only Super DJ. Thanks for listening, everybody. I am Chip Brown. We'll see you over at horns247.com. Until next time, stay safe and keep the faith.